Good morning, homeschool mamas. So glad you're here. So today I got a special box in the mail, and Zach, welcome. This is Zach, my 12-year-old, and he is going to bring me the box, and we are going to check out if this box actually really does have what I think it has in it, because it arrived on the day I was told it was supposed to, but the truth, it has nothing to show me that it is for sure what I think it is. So let's find out. Okay, it's harder than I thought it'd be. Yeah, I do. Okay. If it's not, what will I do then?
Tell what it is.
It is the book! Yay! Some of them. Okay. So I'm going to do some signed copies at some point. Yeah, but I thought I'd share the updated version that I have. Includes another review from Tamara Strijak, who is Gordon Neufeld's daughter. If you know the book Hold On to Your Kids, Gordon Neufeld wrote the book with, you probably have heard me talk about it, but I can't remember the author's name. I love this guy, but Gordon Neufeld. His daughter is Tamara Strijak. She's an academic dean at the Neufeld Institute, and the entire book and the Institute is doing amazing things for families in general, and this year came alongside homeschool families in support of us and what we're doing and trying to help us along. And she shared her review of my book. She said, "I so appreciated your honesty, your humor, your down-to-earth suggestions and ideas. Everything you wrote about felt so doable, even with the practicalities of running a household. Such important messages and so well delivered, a must read." So that feels pretty special to get a review from Gordon Neufeld's daughter, Tamara Strijak, who was also a homeschool mom at one point. So the books have arrived. Yay! Yay! So what have we been reading these days? You and me?
Yep.
Want to share?
This is basically a book on, help me out,
about owls.
Yeah, about owls, and there's a few friends who really like owls and other animals, and they have a lot of pets, and right now they're just trying to get an owl as a pet, and
yeah,
his brothers and sisters died from a storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is Farley Mowat, a Canadian author who has written, I think, 45 books. But yeah, it's a lot of books. Yeah. And he was born in 1921 in Ontario, and he served in the Second World War. And most Canadians would know this author, but the narrative, how it's written, is so solid and so interesting. It makes you feel like you're really there. And this particular story is perfect as a read aloud, and we're doing this in the mornings. We're learning how to take care of orphan owls. But in the meantime, what else are we doing? Because we're learning about other animals as well.
We're trying to get a goat house ready because we're thinking of getting goats by May or June.
Yeah.
And we're going to get might say this wrong, a British Guernsey?
Guernsey, yep.
Guernsey, okay. And possibly a Nubian. And that's going to be really fun. So we're thinking of doing a design, an 8x12 house. But we have to get a foundation ready and the fencing.
Yeah, which is a lot of work, and it is not our natural thing to do. It's definitely not something I grew up with. Yeah. My dad was an amazing carpenter, or he was very good as a handyman around the house, and I knew how to use a hammer, and that was about it. So, and even though my husband could resuscitate you if you end up in the hospital emerge, he's not really all that adept with saws and hammers and all that stuff either. So we are going to be on a real learning curve this year. Yeah. But Zach is good with all that stuff, so...
kind of.
Yeah, you are. You really are. And so we're going to harness that learning opportunity, as I call it, and we're going to get outside as soon as this cast comes off, and as soon as the snow disappears. Yeah. That's the goal. Yeah. So that's going to be fun. Do you want to say anything more about it?
No.
Not really? Okay, well, thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Same.
Okay. So this book. I was going to share with you something from this book on Fridays, like a homeschool mama read aloud, right? Well, guess what? I'm going to set it aside because yesterday I got inspiration. My inspiration is this. I started dabbling in reels, as you saw, which is like out of my comfort zone for sure. My daughter, my 15-year-old daughter who does YouTube video, said that you really need to get on TikTok. But if you know me, I'm kind of averse to TikTok. I feel a little bit old for that. However, Reels is a thing right now that is on the upsurge, and wow, is it an amazing way to connect concepts that we're learning in homeschooling or that we need to get in homeschooling and quickly deliver information in a very tight way. And so I'm actually finding it a really useful approach. But yesterday I had this inspiration to share with you how homeschooling is different in homeschool 2019 versus 2020 or 2021. And it is very different. The energy of it is different. We're not driving everywhere like we were in 2019. And there's other things that I shared on that reel. But I thought, what did I actually learn over the last 15 years? Because what I learned or what I believed about homeschooling way back in the day when I was first homeschooling versus what I am experiencing now, it's quite different. To no surprise, I'm sure. So, I see Dakota, you say this sounds like one of my kids. That's awesome. He's not my kiddo that's typically on screen, so that was really cool to have him here. But I thought I'd share with you what my experience was back in the day as what I thought it would be like. When in the very beginning I homeschooled, I felt overwhelmed, seriously overwhelmed, as maybe some of you do as well. I was trying to do everything, and I had 4 kids. My oldest was, I think, at the end of grade 2, and then I had a kindergartner, I had a preschooler who was pretty busy, and I had a baby on my lap. And I tried to do a very traditional homeschool. I tried to really bring school home. And so a recipe for overwhelm. I went to Starbucks every Wednesday night. This is not a plug for Starbucks, but I really did. And I bought a scone, and I bought a pumpkin spice latte, and I journaled. And I wrote down all of my thoughts and my feelings and my perceptions about what homeschooling was like at that time. So I thought I'd share that with you and then share what I believe about it now or what my experience is now. Some of the things are not the same, as you can imagine. So, the homeschooling pros in the beginning of my homeschool experience. You get to be with your kids instead of having them 7 hours away from you in school, then have dinner together, then 10 minutes of quiet time before bed, and off to another day, 5 days a week. Plus, you get homework in the evenings too. Isn't 7 hours in school enough for a kindergartner to grade 7, grade 8-year-old? Do we learn through rote memory or memorizing through test prep or having subjects chosen for us? Do we engage advanced math in our everyday? Homeschooled kids get to be socialized by adults, not by fellow 8-year-olds. Homeschooled kids get to skip the newest fashion trends, vocabulary trends, and excessive shoe purchases, both indoors and outdoors. Homeschooled kids get hot lunches, healthy hot lunches. Kids can do their own swim and skating lessons on their own time. There's more time for leisure because kids should play. There's more time for extracurricular activities because you can use the entire day. You're forced to deal with family interpersonal issues, but you do get to learn with your kids. You get to learn about yourself. You can see them uncover their interests and develop their passions. You get to influence their approach towards life. You get to skip out on the parental homework, like signing stuff in school forms, organizing mandatory volunteer time, like what even is that? And you have to do it without your younger kids. And I don't know where they're supposed to go while you're doing your mandatory volunteer time in school. And of course, you get to accommodate for their learning styles. Okay, so here's how I see it now. It all goes by so quickly. I do get to experience my children in an organic way, watching their interests expand, their skills develop, and the whole parenting thing goes by really quickly. It really does. If you're in the thick of it right now, just remember, it will. It will go by so quickly. Too quickly, some days not so much. But every once in a while, I really would like 7 hours away. That's true too. Homework at the end of a busy day sounds really unhelpful unless they're self-motivated. Everyone can keep their academics within normal school hours unless they have too many extracurriculars during the day, which hasn't been the case for the last year. Yes, sometimes we do learn through rote learning and memorization. Sometimes there is value for that. It's a tool for learning. For some kids, it works better, and other kids, not so much. Certainly, this shouldn't be the only tool, though, and it shouldn't be the default tool. And learning to test is a tool, and it sometimes is necessary, but actually wanting to learn something should be where the bulk of learning should remain. I learned that we absolutely do use math every day, not advanced math, but though I actually set our math workbooks aside for a full unschooled 6 months, I learned there is no way to avoid math. We are less likely to have money mistakenly taken from us at the cashier or in a restaurant if we know how to count our own money. Knowing how to calculate percentages in our head makes tipping quicker. Calculating area enables quick calculations for carpeting a room or building a chicken coop, or as we're going to do today, or my son's going to do today, calculate the perimeter for the fence for the goat. And yesterday, he was calculating how much space we needed for 4 goats. Memorizing times tables makes advanced math a simpler process, because though we don't use all that advanced math that my oldest daughter, my 2 daughters at home are doing right now, a lot of high school math, a lot of geometry, a lot of stuff that requires a very expensive calculator, that's not something that we do on the regular. But sometimes it's a building block that we need to use in order to get to the next step if we're going to a specific post-secondary school. Some kids will need advanced math for later schooling. Some kids like playing with advanced math too. I probably have just one of those out of all 4. I myself will never need a $100 calculator. The word trigonometry still means confusion in my thesaurus. Kids are better socialized by capable adults, not same-aged peers. Yep. I am not suggesting children don't need regular contact with same-aged peers or that they don't have regular social activities, but socialization that breeds kindness, authenticity, and character traits that we hope or want for our children is led by kind, authentic, invested, and capable adults. The more the merrier. So when kids are younger, they're less aware of fashion and vocabulary trends and obviously don't need indoor shoes. As homeschooled kids enter adolescence, they find themselves more invested in independent social scenarios, and they definitely clue into fashion trends and vocabulary trends. And as to vocabulary trends, I understand that when someone says something is sick, well, I think they mean someone actually is sick. If someone says they're fierce, I assume that they're describing someone as maybe unabashedly unkind. And I'm mostly confused when people are talking and confounded by all the interesting choices. And I know that one of my girls is actually going to say to me, Mom, no one says fierce or sick anymore. So, yeah. Homeschooled kids definitely get regular hot lunches. I'm not well versed in packing lunches, but the kids are well versed in making their own. Unless they want my lentils and rice or kale salad or soup, because I do a lot of soup. Homeschooled kids definitely get a surprising amount of extracurricular time. There really is just more time in the days to do that. Now this past year, as I said in the reel yesterday, no, there isn't as much extracurricular time. For us personally, in our province, our restrictions just opened up so that we could actually spend time with, I think, a group under 10 outside, and that is new. But so that's great, by the way, that's fabulous. This year has not been typical at all in our experience homeschool socializing, having opportunity actually to go out and hang out with friends. We haven't had the same opportunities. Definitely the extracurriculars aren't available like they were the years before. And the truth, I have not regretted a lot of that. It is nice to not have to constantly be driving. It is, even my daughter said that she was glad that she doesn't have as many things outside the home. So it turns out it wasn't all bad. They're accustomed to having breathing room in their days when we homeschool. I rarely hear I'm bored until this year. But when I do, I recognize that that statement really is a jumping off point for learning something new. And I don't default to saying, well, maybe you should clean the house. No, we do that anyways. But I do default to having a discussion on, so what are you interested in? What could you pursue? This is your opportunity to go farther into an established interest or maybe pursue something that you haven't spent a lot of time doing. I'm not afraid of that statement, Mom, I'm bored, nor do I attempt to soothe it. Nor do I attempt to entertain. Homeschool kids do get front and center tickets to their homeschool parents' marriage. Good, the bad, and the ugly. This is something that very few people talk about. And it's also possible that they learn more quickly not to open their parents' bedroom doors. Haven't done research on that one, just my personal experience. Every parent gets to influence their child's direction and internal compass in life. Not just homeschool parents, of course, but sure, we can do this on the regular. We have more moments to influence them throughout the day, which can also become moments to enmesh though. And in the moment, we don't realize that we're enmeshing. So not having a strong sense of boundaries and you versus me, and I am not you. You have your internal challenges and you're not, you might be wanting to understand more in the high school years. I'm thinking of what you want to do for the rest of your life, and I can influence that, but I don't need to engage it like it's my story or my challenge. We are front and center on our child's stage, though. They are watching us. There is more caught than taught, no question. And not necessarily knowing all the time that we are being watched, but as time goes by, you'll realize that, yeah, more is caught than taught. My homeschooled kids' learning styles are always accommodated. I do recommend that you, especially in the early years, get familiar with your children's learning styles, how they like to learn. You can do all sorts of quizzes and tests and learn about the personalities too, but you'll learn it. Eventually you'll learn it, and they will assert it as well. Somewhere between 8 and 12, there's an individuating process that begins. It depends on the child. I've had 4 kids. They've all done this very differently, and even older than 12. One of them, and it happens. It's supposed to happen. They're supposed to develop their own sense of self and become separate from you, which, might I add, is what they're supposed to do, but it's not an easy process for you. For me, it isn't. But that's what the goal is, right? And so they start to uncover and unravel who they are and what they're about and what their interests are. And then you don't have to be so concerned about, are they going to develop into the person that they need to be? They will, and they will let you know. Learning style is always accommodated as a homeschool family. No matter what your philosophy or approach to homeschooling is, you will eventually realize that doing the educational aspect or engaging learning opportunities really works well when you're including your child and your child is bought in. And when they're not, well, it's more difficult. We all know that. If an education is about a specific child, educating a specific child in order to develop them, their interests, their skills, and their aptitudes so that they grow up to find a specific, meaningful purpose in their life and they can contribute to their world and even monetize that, then I am indeed helping my children gain an education. And that is what I learn is the ultimate goal in homeschooling. And the last thing that I know now, having homeschooled for about 15 years, is that I sign up for the ultimate parental homework, a full-on parenting marathon. I most definitely skip out on signing stuff and finding forms and organizing mandatory volunteer time and doing school stuff that I don't want to do. I follow my kids' interests closely, learn about resources that facilitate those interests, learn how to organize academic time that suits their sensibilities, find curriculum or books that I believe to be useful until it's not, because I customize my kids' education. However, I also organize everything in my homeschool day timer, maintain schedules, bring them to at least 4 times the normal extracurriculars that I hear other families are doing. I think through absolutely every last detail, and then I watch my child and I rethink and reconsider again and adjust again. I definitely do not skip out on parental homework. So those are the things that I would share with you, and I'm sure there's many others that I have learned along the way. The very last letter that I share in my book, Homeschool Mama's Self-Care, Nurturing the Nurturer, is a final letter to you, homeschool mama, a letter of encouragement. We are getting out of the slump month, thankfully. The sun is shining brighter every day. At least in our part of the world, the restrictions are declining, and it feels like slump month is ending. How about you? Here's a final letter to you, a reminder and encouragement that once upon a time, you likely told yourself you have one of the best jobs in the world. You took on this job and no one expected you to. You get to watch your kids grow up right before your eyes. You get to watch them learn chess moves at 3, win chess moves with dad at 8, and create their own Minecraft servers. You get to see their vivacious animated personalities create a successful YouTube channel. You get to watch their fascination with dolphins turn into aquatic online science classes. You get to observe their people-watching passions turn into a social sciences degree. Watch their preoccupation with history reading on their bed turn into a Greek and Latin civ history minor. You get to see them develop their interests as they grow into adulthood. You get to develop your interests too. If you're interested in Greek mythology, you can buy a book, read a book with your kids, take courses online, build Greek columns from sugar cubes, wrap yourself in white sheets, make a group or a crown of grape leaves, and have your kids feed you grapes, olives, and wine on the living room floor and call it social studies. You get to dabble in your interests. You get to dabble in your interests just like you encourage your kids to dabble in theirs. You get to start home businesses, because lots of homeschool families do. You might want to start an Etsy shop, create a work life around your homeschool, or a homeschool around your work life. You get to do the homeschool hygge. Isn't it funny how outsiders think that we're tethered to all things uncomfortable as homeschool families? Meanwhile, we gradually move towards freedom and homeschool hygge, comfort, the comforts of home. Do they not know when we can choose to let the kids sleep in if we want? Do they know we don't feel pressured toward cultural trends, nor do we even know about all of them? Like the side part. I'm keeping my side part. Do they not know we get to move at the flow of our family and we influence the flow of our family to fit our needs too? We get chocolate chips, cookies with math workbooks, family room fires with afternoon reading, tea, and essential oils throughout school days, and candlelight just because. Mama, has anyone told you that you have one of the best jobs in the world? Homeschooling can be a challenge to maintain mama's self-care, sometimes for sanity. But the homeschool lifestyle can also be a charmed life and encourages mama's self-care. It's a challenge to build your needs, your wants, your personality into your homeschool world. But it can be done, and it will be done as you continue moving forward, instilling habits and practices that take care of you. So let's keep working towards turning our challenges into our charms. I wish you and your family health and happiness as you learn to go beyond survival, to thrive as you nurture the nurturer. So on that note, I hope you have a lovely weekend. We'll talk to you soon.